So this TikToker, let's call her Spirit. One day, she's in bed and she starts seeing these creatures, and they start talking to her. Now, Spirit is 14 years old, she's a good kid, she goes to private school, she's class president, and she also makes a lot of TikToks. Mostly just dancing and lip-syncing videos. Spirit also has an older sister. Let's just call her Angel. Angel's 19, and she has cerebral palsy, and she uses a wheelchair. And when Spirit and Angel hang out, Spirit sings her songs and reads to her. They seem to be happy. But over time, Spirit's TikToks start to change. They get a little darker, kind of an emo vibe, because she's being bullied at school. She's becoming depressed. She also thinks she might be trans, but it isn't clear. And so Spirit retreats more and more into the horror movies she likes, and she starts to have dark, intrusive thoughts. And one day, Spirit has a normal day. She goes to school, she gets home, she posts a TikTok, and bedtime comes and she goes to bed and everyone in the house is asleep. And that is when she's approached by these creatures. And I don't know what to call them, so we'll just call them demons. And these demons, they start speaking to her. Now, Spirit doesn't like this. It scares her. She doesn't know what to do. Then the demons start bullying her. They're making fun of the way she looks, they're taunting her for maybe being trans, and they allegedly start telling her to hurt herself. So Spirit gets out of bed and she sneaks through the dark and she goes downstairs. She goes to the kitchen and grabs a large kitchen knife, and the demons keep taunting her. So finally, Spirit does the only thing she can think of. She turns the knife on one of the demons and she stabs it, hoping it'll go away. And she does this over and over again. And eventually she stops and she looks down and realizes she wasn't stabbing a demon. She had been stabbing her sister, Angel. So Spirit calls 911. Then she goes out into the front yard and waits for the police. Police get there and she straight up admits it. I unalived my sister. So they arrest her and it's a huge deal, and all her TikTok followers are like, what the f***? And eventually, all of this goes to trial. And at the trial, Spirit's attorney argues a version of the story I just told you. That Spirit killed Angel because Spirit was depressed, experiencing hallucinations, which I represented with pictures of demons, but who knows what the hell she was seeing. Now, the prosecuting attorney, on the other hand, they argue that's bullshit. That this wasn't because of hallucinations, and that Spirit was obsessed with homicide, and that she would often talk to her friends about unaliving people, and that she shows no remorse in killing her sister. And allegedly, when Spirit was in police custody, an officer's phone rings, and his ringtone is the theme to Halloween, and Spirit jokes, I just Michael Myers my sister. And then another time while in police custody, police gave her McDonald's, and she said, I would have killed someone sooner if I knew I was getting McDonald's. And so the prosecuting attorneys use all of these things against Spirit in court. However, both prosecution and defense agree that Spirit is mentally unwell. So Spirit is tried as an adult, and eventually she pleads guilty to third-degree murder, and here's her mugshot, and she's in prison now, serving 12 to 40 years. And to this day, we still don't exactly have a clear understanding of why she did it. So this TikToker, her name's Michaela. One day, she and her boyfriend Adam are on a road trip together, and they're passing through Alabama. And they're kind of in the middle of nowhere, and suddenly they see a woman on the side of the road, and she's flagging them down. She needs help, and they pull over. So this woman, let's call her Yaz. And Yaz asks them for jumper cables. Her car is apparently broken down back at her campsite a little further into the woods. And Adam's like a super nice guy, so he's like, of course we'll help. So Yaz leads them further back into the woods, and they see her car with the hood already popped open. Now before Adam gets out of his van, he reaches into the back and he grabs his pew-pew, and he tucks it into his waistband, just in case. So they try jumping Yaz's car, and it is not working. And they keep trying, and they keep trying for over an hour. And by this time, Michaela is ready to leave. And she's like, okay, this is not working. Is there anything else we can help you with? And suddenly, Yaz is like, yes, you can put your hands up. And she pulls out a pew-pew. So Michaela and Adam are like, what the fuck? While Yaz forces them to empty their pockets. She's robbing them. And she takes Michaela's phone and she demands her banking account info. Now, it seems like Yaz is nervous, like maybe she hasn't done this a lot. Because suddenly, out of nowhere, she lowers her pew-pew and is like, I'm just playing, y'all. And the moment she lets her guard down, Adam pulls out his firearm and he's like, get on the fucking ground. But Yaz doesn't get on the ground. Instead, she starts fumbling around with her pew-pew, but apparently she's never actually used one before, and it suddenly goes off and fires into the ground. This shot spooks Adam, and so Adam starts shooting back, hitting Yaz in the stomach. Then she starts shooting back at him, now they're shooting at each other. And Adam hits her 4 times, and she's down. Now it seems like it might be over, but then Adam suddenly says, I'm shot. and he falls to the ground because one of Yaz's bullets got him in the back. So Michaela gets her phone back and she calls 911. But they're so far out into the woods, it's going to take at least 30 minutes for anyone to get there. Meanwhile, Yaz tries to run away, but she can't because at least one of those shots she took in the leg. So she just randomly starts calling out, "Crystal, Crystal, help me." Now who the hell is Crystal? Now that is when another strange woman just suddenly emerges from the woods. This woman, Crystal. And Crystal starts circling around them, trying to assess the situation. And finally, she looks at Yaz and is like, "What do you want me to do?" Then she runs back into the woods. Now eventually, paramedics arrive, but unfortunately, it's too late for Adam. He ultimately doesn't make it. So they take Yaz away on a stretcher and police talk to Michaela about what happened. And she tells them the whole story and she mentions there was this other woman, Crystal, who appeared out of the woods and then suddenly disappeared. So police spread out and they start looking for Crystal. Now they get about a half mile into the woods and they spot a group of tents together. Kind of looks like a base camp. And standing by one of these tents is Crystal. So police see her and they're like, "Get on the ground." And Crystal does. But not a moment later, a 5-year-old kid runs out from one of the tents with a loaded shotgun pointed at police. And police are like, "Whoa there, kid, put that down." But the kid doesn't put it down. He clings to it. And he walks up until he's next to Crystal, who's still on the ground. And it turns out Crystal is the kid's mom. But that's not even the weirdest part about all this. The weirdest part about all of this, the tents in the middle of the woods, Yaz, Crystal, the kid with the shotgun, they are all allegedly part of some spiritual group called the University of Cosmic Intelligence, aka a cult. And the leader of this alleged cult is this guy, Rashad, who used to make a lot of TikToks preaching his culty nonsense until his account got banned and he went to prison recently for being a P3DO. I'm not kidding. So supposedly, they're all in a cult following the teachings of that guy. And they've been living in the woods, off the grid, and they've run out of resources, so they come up with this plan to pretend their car's broken down and rob whoever tries to stop and help them. Anyway, police arrest Crystal, and they eventually arrest Yaz in the hospital. Here's Crystal's mugshot, here's Yaz's. They go to trial, they get convicted. Yaz is sentenced to 35 years in prison for unaliving Adam, but Crystal is actually sentenced to life, because apparently she was the mastermind behind the whole robbery. And by the way, Michaela has a TikTok page and she talks all about this. She's actually pretty great. Shout out to Alabama.